Good morning, NFC East. Yeah, I'm pretty excited today, Tone DeShields. By the way, as if you guys don't know yet, my name is Jeff Kerr, NFL writer for CBS Sports, and award season is here, Tone DeShields. We're going to be finding out, maybe not until February, but we're going to be finding out All-Pro teams in the coming days. And the first one was released, one I don't have any say in, because the players decided, in their infinite wisdom, we want a piece of the pie. So we're going to create our own All-Pro team.
Right.
Okay, fine. You know, I see the way some of you guys pick for the Pro Bowl and kind of laugh at you, and I really laugh at the way you pick the top 100. So why not? I'll give a shot at your All-Pro team. And I'll tell you what, this one, they actually look like they gave a you-know-what. Because I thought the list overall was pretty good. By the way, for Philadelphia Eagles fans who don't know who made it from the Eagles, they just released the first team. Jason Kelce seemed like a no-brainer, so they got that right. Lane Johnson seemed like a no-brainer, they got that right. I was kind of surprised to see Darius Slay make the first team, although I have no qualms with it because he had a really good year. But I'm not even sure if he was the best cornerback on his own team.
That is interesting because even though Darius Slay did begin to regress to the mean as the season progressed, James Bradbury kind of held form. I think James Bradbury is still top 5. I think he was ranked 3rd in terms of passer rating against him in the league. So James Bradbury definitely had a great season, but I think my argument for Slay versus Bradbury would be that even though Bradbury had a higher passer rating, Bradbury is more of a zone guy, and as we all know, the wide receivers, the lockdown corners, they tend to give a lot more respect to the man-to-man guys, the guys that love to match up and take on the best, the number one wide receiver on the opposing team. So that's probably why Slay got it ahead of Bradbury, and that's not taking nothing away from Bradbury, but overall, to your point about the actual list as a whole, I didn't really have a problem with the list. I'm always for players exercising their right, their right to fight. Right. I'm always about players exercising their voices. I'm really big on player empowerment. I'm all for guys getting paid. I want guys to get as much money as they can. Right. It's up to the organizations to figure out how to make the money work. I want guys to get as much as they worked hard to get here, right? Blood, sweat, tears, sacrifice of time with family. I think, it's cool when players have a say in who they believe is the best player, because I think as fans, right, as commentators, as spectators of the sport, we're always curious what these players think about their opponents or what these players think about their peers. We can't help but to be enamored with that dynamic. So I think it's pretty cool that they came up with their own All-Pro list. Where specifically on the list, were there any names that stood out to you that you felt like maybe shouldn't have been there, or that maybe was more so a legacy selection?
Oh, definitely Aaron Donald. I don't know what the players were thinking selecting Aaron Donald when there were more than enough proven defensive tackles this year. And this is no disrespect to Aaron Donald. I think we all agree when Aaron Donald's healthy, he's probably the best defensive tackle in football. But this isn't – in 2022, he was not. There were better defensive tackles than Aaron Donald. A lot better. And, Aaron Donald was hurt this year. I can make a case. If Bobby Wagner made that list, I would have been like, fine, because Bobby Wagner had one heck of a year in L.A. You just didn't notice it because the Rams were god-awful. But Aaron Donald making it, it's – he didn't make a Pro Bowl this year. As far as I know, I didn't look that. I didn't look that up.
No, he didn't make the Pro Bowl. No, it's kind of funny. How does he make the All-Pro but not make the Pro? Like it's backwards.
Yeah, right. But we've seen this. We've experienced this in Philadelphia with Jason Kelce, with Lane Johnson. How do they make first team All-Pro but they don't make the Pro Bowl? Right. We used to say it's a popularity contest. Well, I get Aaron Donald was. Aaron Donald early in the season, a lot of the games he played in, but he was also hurt and he wasn't a factor like he was the rest of his career. Aaron Donald is one of the greatest defensive players of all time, but this isn't the greatest defensive players of all time All-Pro team. This is the 2022 All-Pro team. So I had an issue with that, and Tyreek Hill was another one. No disrespect to Devonta Adams. He balled out this year, but so did Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had an amazing first year with the Miami Dolphins, and he still was able to put up numbers despite Teddy Bridgewater, Skylar Thompson playing quarterback. If Tyreek Hill had Tua Tagovailoa healthy the entire season, again, it's an if. Tyreek Hill might have surpassed Justin Jefferson in catches and yards. That's how good Tyreek Hill was this year.
I might push back on the Tyreek Hill argument for the simple fact that I know it's not just a numbers game, and guys, factor in. Well, before I push back on that, I want to add context to how they chose their guys, right? So players across the league were asked to vote for the best player at their position, as well as the positions that they line up against. Unlike the Pro Bowl, where players' votes counts for only 1/3 of the total votes, the NFLPA's All-Pro Team was determined only by players currently on NFL rosters. So essentially, a wide receiver could only vote for other wide receivers and or vote for other cornerbacks and safeties. Makes sense, right? You only can vote for guys that are at your position or that you have to play against. That's the best way to really judge who's really the top guys, because I have to go up against those guys every single day. And also these guys are in my wide receiver rooms. These guys are among my peers, so I know who's good and who's not. So I think that's a fair way of going about it. Pretty cut and dry, pretty straightforward. But I would have to push back against the Tyreek Hill versus Davante Adams, mainly because, Tyreek Hill, and it's not just about numbers, and it's not just about what you've done in years past. Strictly in this year, I understand Tua went down, but Tyreek Hill still has a job to do, right? So Tyreek Hill, just over 1,700 yards, 1710 to be exact, 7 touchdowns. Davante Adams, 15-16, a little less than a 200-yard difference, but Davante Adams doubled the touchdown count. Tyreek Hill, 7 touchdowns, Davante Adams, 14. So it's kind of like, he gave you the yards, but Davante Adams was dominating in the red zone. He was putting points on the board, So I would have if the touchdown differential or disparity was lower, I might see your point. But Davante Adams, 14 touchdowns, is hard to argue against that.
Well, here's the other thing too, and this is where I'll agree with you with Davante Adams. Can you name the Raiders' number 2 wide receiver this year?
Don't they have Hunter Renfrow?
Yeah, but he's been hurt.
He's been hurt, so that means Davante's been getting opportunities.
Yeah, so that's where I would agree with you. Like, again, didn't have an issue with Davante Adams making it. If he made it, fine. First team, Tyreek Hill's going to make second team, whatever. Defensive end or edge rusher. See, we vote edge rushers. I think they labeled it as defensive end. This one had to be the hardest. Nick Bosa, slam dunk. Nick Bosa had the best year. I don't care what Eagles fans say. Nick Bosa had the best year of any edge rusher.
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
But
really quickly, Jeff, before we get to the edge rushers, just to add more context to the Tyreek Hill, Davante Adams. I know you brought up Hunter Renfrow. You're right. Hunter Renfrow was hurt. Davante Adams got more opportunities, but that actually makes it that much more impressive that he became the guy. Right.
That was the point I was trying to make.
Okay, got it. And then there was only a 10 target disparity between Tyreek Hill and Davante Adams. Davante Adams had 10 more targets, but Tyreek Hill had 19 more catches. So, I mean, you can really make a case for either guy, right? But, to your point about Nick Bosa's been spectacular. Now, has he had health issues every now and again? Yeah, but Nick Bosa is just he's so dominant when he's on the field. It's like he's guaranteed at least 2 sacks a game. Like, he's just that dominant.
Can you imagine Nick Bosa in Jonathan Gannon's scheme, how many sacks he put up? And keep in mind, he plays for D'Amico Ryans, who's already really good.
Well, if he was in Jonathan Gannon's scheme, Jonathan Gannon might have him dropping back in coverage.
so he'd have 25 sacks, like he says with Fasar. But by the way, that was my qualm. Nothing against Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett balled out this year. He had a really good year. But you mean to tell me a guy that had 16 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, 3 fumble recoveries, 3 passes defense? Oh, by the way, he's one of 3 players since 2000 to do all these things. One of them was TJ Watt. The other one was Chandler Jones. How does he not have a spot at the table on the first team? I saw him right. Someone on the Eagles defensive line should have just made first team All-Pro by the players just based on them having 70 sacks this year. That's insane. And if you want to, there were 2 guys that probably should have been considered to that, Hassan Reddick and Javon Hargrave. And that's why I had an issue with Aaron Donald making it, because Javon Hargrave had a way better year than Aaron Donald. In fact, Javon Hargrave should have made the Pro Bowl and did not. It felt like his season got overlooked, but I want to touch base on Hassan Reddick here. Hassan Reddick should have had a seat at that table.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think when it comes to Hassan Reddick, and he is a pure pass rusher, right? I think, and this is me just trying to dissect it and be a little bit more analytical and really dig deep and peel the layers back. I think when people think of Myles Garrett and Hassan Reddick comparably, yes, Hassan Reddick can rush the quarterback just as good as any of them, right? But there are moments when Hassan Reddick becomes a liability in defending the run, and pretty much anything else you ask him to do outside of rushing the passer. Myles Garrett, he pretty much is the total package. He can rush the passer, he can stop the run. He's a significantly bigger body, right? Producing just as much as Hassan Reddick, if not more. But also it's about the name as well. It's a combination of all those things. But if I had to, I put it like this. If someone said I could have Hassan Reddick or Myles Garrett on my team, who do you think I'm picking, Jeff?
That's tough because honestly, to me, I go Myles Garrett.
Right. Same here.
But but I can see where people will go Hassan Reddick. Look, I just think you should be rewarded for the type of year that you're having. And
agreed. They both had 16 sacks.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett had more tackles for loss, but Hassan had more forced fumbles.
Also,
so you can really split hairs with these guys, really.
Yeah, I'll defend Myles Garrett on this.
Right.
The Cleveland Browns' run defense was god awful this year. Oh, and the guy who lines up opposite of Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, did nothing. And I don't care what Clowney claimed. And sometimes he was right that he faced the better tackle. But isn't that what you want? Don't you want your best pass rusher going against the second best tackle so he can get his? Isn't that strategy?
That actually does make sense, and that's not on Myles Garrett. So
no, it's not Myles Garrett's fault at all. It's you want your best pass rusher going after the quarterback. So again, Jadeveon Clowney is just bitter because he put up a goose egg on the stat sheet, essentially.
Yeah, Jadeveon Clowney, his career, when you think about how highly touted he was coming out of college, relatively a disappointment, right? Now, granted, making it to the NFL, playing the game for as long as he has, getting multiple contracts as much as he has, that's success in life, right? He's a successful athlete, but from a pedigree standpoint, from an accolade standpoint, I think Jadeveon Clowney's career was kind of underwhelming, especially when you think about how highly touted he was coming out of college. I'm not sure that Jadeveon Clowney even has a double-digit sack season. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
He doesn't. So I used to view him like a Brandon Graham. Like, he never put up the sack numbers, but there was so much he did. He got a lot of pressures on the quarterback. He was all over the field. He could stop the run. He could cover. But he hasn't aged well. And maybe going to a different team will help. Like, Jadeveon Clowney had a really good year last year. So I thought he would bring that back with Cleveland. And and again, he was right about the defensive coordinator because the defensive coordinator was fired. But unfortunately, he burned his bridges there, which I don't think he cares. He's a free agent anyway.
Yeah. So really quickly, before we bring up our guy, John Stolnis, looking forward to hearing what he has to say about the Philadelphia Eagles, especially going into the playoffs. Everyone is 0-0, 0-0. So that record 14-3 is currently irrelevant. But again, they put in the work. They earned the number one seed. So I'm really curious to hear what John Stolnis has to say about these Philadelphia Eagles. But just to go through the entire list before we get out of this segment, on offense, they had Patrick Mahomes, running back Josh Jacobs, which I don't mind at all. Fullback Kyle Juszczyk, which honestly, really, I don't mean any harm, but every team doesn't have a fullback. That's one of the easiest All-Pro teams or Pro Bowl spots to earn. I'm sorry.
It's either him or Patrick Ricard.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, how much stock do I really put into a fullback making a Pro Bowl? How much stock do I put into Kyle Juszczyk? Now, I'm not coming at his skill set. I'm pretty sure he's productive in his system, but I can't put too much stock in that. Wide receiver Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, I'm not mad at it. Tight end Travis Kelce, not mad at it. Trent Williams at left tackle. Left guard Joel Bentonio. Center Jason Kelce. Right guard Zach Martin for the Cowboys. Right tackle Lane Johnson. And on defense, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett on the edge. Interior defensive line, Chris Jones and Aaron Donald. Not feeling that Aaron Donald's pick at all. Nose tackle Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. Off-ball linebacker Fred Warner from the 49ers. Roquan Smith, who just got that big contract. Corners Patrick Surtain II from the Broncos and Darius Big Play Slay. Minka Fitzpatrick and Derwin James Jr., man. Special teams, Cordell Patterson. Punt return, Cavante Turpin, which is pretty cool. Core teamer, whatever that means. Jeremy Reeves, Commanders. Justin Hards, Jets. Kicker, Jason Myers. Punter, Timmy Townsend. And long snapper, Morgan Cox. So
the core teamers were the Gunners, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. The Gunners. They are important.
Yeah,
I will admit they are important.
And that's one thing I liked about the team. I don't like how they admitted edge rusher and stuff like that, but represent special teams, representing a couple positions there. I thought slot corner should have made the list though, if we're gonna get specific.
That's a good point. I definitely agree with that. You definitely need three because these days everyone's playing nickel. So you technically have three starting corners on the field at a time. So yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Before we go to John, I wanted to ask you this, Tone. Why is there so much vitriol toward Darius Slay anyway?
From the Eagles fans?
Yeah, I don't get it.
Well, I think this is the problem, right? And I try not to kill Darius Slay, but I think this is what the issue is. I think Darius Slay started the season so hot. He started the season in a way that people thought he found the fountain of youth. People saw that Justin Jefferson game. Darius Slay was just on fire. And then he started to, like I said earlier, he began to regress to the mean. He began to come down to earth. And people feel like he fell off. When in reality, he was just playing out of his mind earlier in the season. You can make an argument he was playing better than probably he should at the age of 32, 31. So I think fans got spoiled a little bit. And he had a couple egregious moments where he got beat. The 3rd and 30 play, calling out his teammate. I feel like Darius Slay has had a turbulent past few weeks, and fans have kind of bloviated about that. It's kind of been a little bit over-exaggerated, but still Darius Slay is one of the best corners. I'll take Darius Slay on his worst day than most guys on their best day. So, I kind of think the Darius Slay vitriol is a bit overblown when you consider age, his role on his team, what he's been asked to do. I think people are just a little bit over emotional, and they can't really get past some of the moments where he's got beaten against no names.
And he is very active on social media. Him and his wife are very active on social media.
Yeah, I love their social media accounts, by the way. But we had to get to our guy John Stonis, man. He is one of the best guys, covering the Philadelphia Eagles. If you ask me, I love his perspective when he comes on Birds 365. I love his perspective when he comes on Good Morning NFC East. He's a news producer and reporter in DC. Hosted the Phillies podcast, Hitting Season, and also the Eagles pod, Iron Enemy. Writer for The Good Fight and Bleeding Green Nation with our guy, BLG, man. He's a decorated guy in this game. Super excited to hear what he has to say. You guys are locked in on Good Morning NFC East. He's Jeff Kerr. I'm your man, Tone DeShields II. Keep it locked, you guys.